Hello there and welcome friends. Today is a very special day for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous because we have at last not only patch 1.2 but also our very first DLC, Inevitable Express, which is meant to take place at the end game, so you'll be able to do it with your character at maximum power, level 20 and also 10 entire mythic ranks. I'll cover the DLC later on, through streaming and guides just for it, but for now I want to focus on patch 1.2. It is a massive patch that has brought quite a lot of mechanics changes, not only that, but even increases to the game's performance, which are very much welcome. So first let's get started with what really matters to us, the gameplay changes to class, abilities, spells, items and so on. So we can now dismiss the repurpose effect from undead creatures the LICH character can turn to their side. This is a nice quality of life change, especially because, well, before, if you didn't loot the target of your repurpose ability as fast as possible, they would be reanimated and you would lose their loot. Alright, so this here is a big nerf to the AZATA Mythic Path. Ivu, your Havoc Dragon companion, used to be able to gain quite a massive amount of caster level, something like around 32 at max mythic rank, which made her pretty much one of the best characters for dispelling effects out of the enemies by casting the Greater Dispel magic spell. She was guaranteed to pretty much dispel all of their buffs in just one cast. Now her caster level has been reduced to 20, quite a big loss. And she even lost some of her breath weapon damage too and her damage reduction. To compensate, we can now equip Ivu with Bardings, just like pets, but honestly, Bardings are kinda useless. You can have way better armor class by just casting many of the pet buffs, as I've already shown to you in my pet guide, linked to the side here. Animal Companion gained from Impossible Domain was leveling up incorrectly, and this is now fixed. This is pretty big too if you have, well, characters that benefit from Impossible Domain and Animal, like my social builds. The way it used to work before, as stated here, was incorrect. The Animal Companion would fully scale to your Cleric's level. The correct way is to scale at your character's level -3, just like a Ranger. What this means is now, if you want your pet to scale to your full level with your Cleric, you'll have to get the feat called Boon Companion. Believe in Yourself, which is an AZATA unique spell, was scaling based only on mythic levels instead of caster level. This is actually a big boost to AZATA for once, as Believe in Yourself is one of their most powerful spells because it can give any of your characters multiple morale bonuses to your ability scores, which is super rare. And now the bonus is even higher, because we have 20 caster level instead of just 10 mythic levels, for double the effect. Break Enchantment didn't remove petrification from characters. This is a nice quality of life change too, because otherwise the only way to remove petrification would be to cast a spell called Stone to Flesh, which is a level 6 spell. Breath of Life took a full round to cast, and this has been fixed. Another great change, because the way Breath of Life works is, you have a very small window of time between the character's death and the time you can cast the spell to bring them back from death without needing to use a diamond or the Raise Dead scrolls. Another big change here is that Greater Enduring Spells mythic abilities will not work anymore on spells cast from scrolls and items. Now it only works on spells that you cast yourself from your spellbook, and it also will not work on abilities anymore. It's kind of a big loss because, for example, your Alchemist or Vivisectionist with their Mutagen ability, even at level 1, it already lasts 10 minutes. If you have Greater Enduring spells, that would already turn it into 24 hours, but no longer. Resurrection your character will now correctly apply negative levels to them, which can be a bit of an annoyance, but you know, we can just cast restoration spells and from scrolls too. Fix the issue with the incorrect number of attacks from Skull's Inspired Rage. This is somewhat interesting, although I don't think I personally ever got this bug. I think that before, your Scald could add quite a lot of extra bite attacks to your characters, when in reality it should be limited to just one. I tested my Scald after this because I always recommend you use Scalds for any parties, and I didn't notice much of a difference. I'm still getting my extra bite attack just fine, which is the way it is intended to work. A nice boost for mounted characters is that the mounted combat feat is now working properly, so you can use a mobility check to avoid the first hit that your mount would have taken on combat, especially useful for the early game when enemies don't have that many attacks per round. Now this here is a big boost to the Gold Dragon Mythic Path. Your main power, so Perfect Body, Mind and Soul, now add an even bigger bonus to your main attribute. Perfect for starting a Gold Dragon Mythic run, which I'll do pretty soon. I'm planning on streaming both a Legend and a Gold Dragon run starting from Chapter 5. Gold Dragon is even more powerful now, with even higher stats. Hellfire Ray dealt more unholy damage than it was supposed to do, and it is now fixed. I tested this after the patch, and I didn't really notice much of a difference. Hellfire Ray is still pretty much the best of the single target, no mythic spells as far as damage. Heroes Never Surrender and Joy of Life now work properly. These are also AZATA Mythic Paths spells, and they can restore both your ability uses and also spell slots for all of your party members. Quite powerful abilities, and it is great that they now work properly. Alright, so as far as the Demon Mythic Path, you now gain your first Demonic Lord aspect at Mythic 9 and your second at Mythic 10. I don't think this makes much of a difference because, unless this was also changed, Demon characters are actually the only Mythic Path, as far as I'm aware, that can get both your Mythic rank 9 and 10 at the same time, so at the start of Chapter 5. And their best damage spell, Telekinetic Strike, is also not working properly, so will do full irresistible damage even if the enemy saves against it. Trickster characters that want to use the Persuasion Mythic Trick 3 for the amusing effect that makes enemies attempt to coup de grace themselves if they fail a persuasion check, well, you can now truly use this, as this didn't work before. Now we have very big boosts to the Aeon Mythic Path. So their Enforcing Gaze feature has more options to give you more build variety when making an Aeon. If you watched some of my videos about this patch before, then you know Aeon is now even better. Which is perfect because I was just waiting for patch 1.2 to hit to start my Aeon run. So my Aeon guide is also coming pretty soon. And for a very big boost to the Swarm Mythic Path as well, they now gain their clone ability as early as Mythic rank 8, which does matter a lot because before this, they could only clone themselves at Mythic rank 10, which is, well, there is only the final boss left to fight after you get Mythic rank 10. Now with the DLC, we also have the DLC content. But the best part about this is that we can now fully benefit from our Swarm Clones ability, which is the main draw of the Swarm Path, as far as powers, as early as you enter the Swarm Mythic Path, which is Mythic rank 8 at the start of Chapter 5. Lastly, for a pretty big nerf to the AZATA path, your ZP Magic superpower will not work with abilities anymore. What this means is it only works with spells now, so no more ZP Magic for both Kineticist Blasts and also for the Vital Strike feat. So I'll update my AZATA guide to reflect these changes. Honestly, I don't think there's much of a point to play a Vital Strike character. With an AZATA, you are much better served going Trickster, and also an AZATA Kineticist who is way better as a demon, because these Mythic Paths actually do have abilities that directly empower these ones. As for Crusade changes, I think the most important one, well, this is a nerf actually. Your Marksman unit's damage has been moderately decreased. Marksman used to be pretty much the most overpowered of the Crusade units, not so much anymore. Still, they do have infinite range on their attacks, and even with this nerf, they can still deal quite a lot of damage. Besides that, mostly changes to other Crusade units, especially the special units, like the Mythic Paths one and others that you can only get through Crusade events and so on, because you can't recruit them, so you always end up with a lesser amount. They now have their damage increased, so that's a lot of damage increase for quite many Crusade units, special ones at least. Now, a great thing about patch 1.2 is that it has also brought many updates to the game's overall performance. So now you'll find that, well, especially in the late game, your performance has become way smoother, with a lot less stuttering. For example, when loading your games, as you can see here, I have multiple Mythic Paths on the same character save, so that's a massive amount of saves for the same character. Before, when loading this main character file, it used to take forever to scroll down to my many saves. Now it's lightning fast and very smooth, as you can see. I think even performance during Chapter 4, which is the worst area of the game performance-wise, has improved somewhat. But I still need to do more testings during Chapter 4 to see if it really changed for the better. Also, you might have already noticed that before, when you clicked on this little arrow here, to the left, to the right of your characters to access your paths and companions, this used to take forever and the game would slow down to a crawl. Now it is also lightning fast, as you can see, which is a very big quality of life improvement. Especially if you are like me and have lots of paths on the same party. It's so smooth now. Unbelievable. And patch 1.2 just keeps on giving. Look how bigger are our item icons here. They used to be pretty small before, like half the size, which made finding certain items a massive pain. Now it is a lot easier, and certainly not as eye-straining. And speaking about items and icons, you might have noticed a lot of items now have unique icons to them, such as Darkness Caress here, the Goggles of Piercing Gaze, Headband of Rigorous Training, of Alluring Charisma, and so on. There's quite a lot of nice changes for the item visuals. It's not only their little icons that are changed, but also the actual 3D model of the item, which is great. I might be remembering it wrong, but I think the Angel Halo also looks a lot better now. And this is also true, of course, for weapons. It's not just armor and accessories. We even have new icons for spells. For example, all of the AZATA unique spells now have neat icons to them, to add more flavor to the Mythic Paths, of course. Just look at that. These all used to have, well, most of them had generic icons before. And amusingly enough, we even have more voiced party banter now, which is a pretty interesting change. I didn't think we would get something like this from a patch. So Romance, Birthday, and some other events are now voiced too. Alright everyone, so this was it for my patch 1.2 overview. Stay tuned because I'll soon not only be streaming but also releasing a lot of content explaining everything you need to know about the new Pathfinder DLC, Inevitable Express. Please remember to support the channel if you can by liking, subscribing, and even becoming a member to access some pretty neat and exclusive content. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends!